All right. On guard position. Whenever someone says ready, you say "Uy," and you get your on guard position, or whenever your instructor says on guard. 2 fingers representing your sword, maybe thumb out, maybe a thumb in, and knuckle hurt. All right. You're gonna have your dominant foot, usually your right foot forward, facing directly forward. You're not gonna want your knee any farther over your toe and more back behind your heel. Your left leg, your left foot, you're gonna want at a bit of an angle, maybe 45 degrees. You're also gonna want it pretty over the step. You don't want it over the toe or behind the heel. You're gonna wanna keep a center channel so you have great balance and mobility to move. Left hand or non-dominant hand out of the way so it doesn't get. Now, for your advance, you're gonna roll your front foot forward, heel first, barely lifting it off the ground, and you roll it forward. So, pick it up, heel to toe, while your back foot is just scooping up, setting back down. It's a 1-2 motion. Front foot, back foot, front foot, back foot. Never start with. For your retreat, your back foot begins. You barely pick it up, pull it back. You lift your toes of your front foot, plant it. Let me give you an example. And back to the advance. Now, pass forward from your on guard position is bringing your non-dominant leg forward, full step, and then your dominant foot again forward, full step. So you've done 1, 2 rather than a da-da. So it's a bum bum rather than a da-da. Danner, you seem to like rhythm. And pass back is the opposite, where your front foot first. Pick up, step, non-dominant, back foot, back. Cross forward, cross back. Cross forward, cross back. Now for your evades, I like to think of it almost as a side lunge. Usually if I had my sword, I'd be doing some kind of parry. For an evade, I typically do it. The key to an evade is actually lifting up your front foot and sending it across. You're leaping a distance rather than jumping up, rather than stepping. And same with the opposite for an evade left. You get the picture. Now, for your vaults, it is not the same as your evades. It's easy to get confused. When you vault, it is whatever foot you move that is the side you're actually going to let the command. So, for a vault left, I vault technically to my right. So I pick up my left foot, I leave my right foot, and I pull behind and to the side. So I'm still facing whatever direction my partner is, but I just move, so there's now a great, like a foot-long gap to where I was. And then I recover. Now vault right is much the same, except I go to the left. I feel like I'm a dancer now. Now for a lunge, it's kind of like the evades, except you go far more forward. You want to shoot this hand back for your flare, your sword hand forward, almost like you're doing like one of those old portraits of a man. Or firebending. Looks like firebending. All right. Usually there would also be a sound out like a huh, except I have to be quiet in my house. So I'll go, yeah. Yeah. And then I redouble. Usually try and go straight on that knee. Don't want it to go over your toes or else you're going to lose all your balance. Yeah. Yeah. So on and so forth. After a lunge is when you'll redouble or recover, as we usually call it. So I'm in my lunge, and we just go back to my on guard position. You can do this from anything, like foot left, recover. Foot right, recover. Same difference. Now, duck and leap. All right, lastly, I have duck and a leap. For a duck, you want to drop all the way down, doing a full squat, head out of the way. So anything coming at you, not gonna cut your fucking face off. So, duck. Fully down, fully squat, head a little down. And then lastly, leap. You need to make sure you are actually pulling your knees up so that you aren't just hopping. Difference between a leap and a hop: one gets your ankles broken. Hop. Perfect. Now your basic attacks, let's start with cut body right. On the basics, you can. Now, with any body or really any attack, you're gonna make sure that you have the shoulder hip pocket on your partner. So whatever height they are, wherever the shoulder is, about 6 to 8 inches outside of that, let's say they're about my size, you're gonna aim for. Simple enough? You can do any number of variants and how you get there. You get the picture. Now, of course, on the opposite side, cut body left. Your left, not your partner's left. 6 to 8 inches outside their hip pocket. Woo. Cool. Now, body right, you want to go from about their hip, not their waist, but their hip. Wait, no, the opposite. Their waist, not their hip, 6 to 8 inches out. All right? Make sure you are always keeping eye contact with where you want to hit instead of the actual body part or anything else on your partner or their weapon, so you're not anticipating that, because where your eyes go, your sword goes, or whatever weapon you have. Leg left. Woo! You can also do it with any number of the footwork. Cool. And now, specifically for the head, you're going to say, let's cut head right. It's best with these swords to keep more of a plank angle, more up and down, so you don't end up having it go over their head. You have more control, and your partner has more control over the reaction that they have. And head left, of course, on the other side. And so on and so forth. With any kind of diagonals or swipes, what you're going to want to do is make sure you're drawing across whatever direction it is, and then for the effect of actually having hit the person, your partner, about once it's cleared their body entirely, and when your arm goes out as far as it can, you flick as if you were fully extending the whole time, but you do not extend at all. About right there. So let's say diagonal left to right down. I would bring my blade down. My partner is nowhere near this, is only about a foot away from my chest at all times. And then I flick out. And it's the same for right to left diagonal. This one is slightly harder due to the angle, depending on your sword. So I like to be extra careful, or even bring it down like that. All right. For a belly swipe, it's much the same way. You drag across the air this way and then flick out once it's safely out of range of your partner's body. Like extra safe. Yeah. Now for a head swipe, typically your partner will, all right. Now for a head swipe, typically your partner will be doing a duck for extra safety where they're all the way down. And it's basically the same concept as doing any of your diagonals. You're going to pull across and then flick safely away from their head, and so it's closest to your body, not their own. Make sure to be aiming at the air on top of their head after your partner is already ducked, so there's no possible way you'll be looking at their head and then someone loses an eye, a tooth, their nose, their beauty in general. I'm not very good with doing it this way because it hurts my ankle or wrist. All right. Now with the thrust, of course, this is incredibly dangerous compared to other things, at least to me, because I don't like when anything comes at me. Now, for a thrust body right, when you're going to your right, their left of body, it's important that you're well outside their range, somewhere in the middle. You're going to supinate your hand and thrust to open the air, where they haven't been at all. And it's the same for body left, except you are pronating for the extra control. You do this with angles in order to make the illusion that you are stabbing someone to death. All right.
All right, that was good. You want me to pause it?
All right, parries 1 through 7. So for the first one, number 1, of course, you're going to bring your sword tip up around. Okay. Parry number 1, bring your sword tip up and around, twisting until knuckle is out, about that angle. I don't know what degree that is. All right, so. You get the gist. All right. Number 2. Pretty simple, you draw your sword back, you want it about in front of your toe line, slightly to your right, so you can actually catch any incoming blows that are coming at you, because if you have it in front of you, you're bound to catch something on the thigh. Cool. Number 3, you're gonna want your elbow kind of tucked in, sword out as to catch anything that would be coming at your arm or your shoulder, or hopefully not your head. Cool. And 4 is the same, except the opposite side. You want to bring your left or non-dominant hand into your chest so you don't end up catching something on the other side of the blade or your own blade. Like so. Bring it up and over to the opposite side of your body. You're going to want knuckles out, so you put in the full force of your block behind it. Cool. Number 5, when you are getting a cut head, that would be a cut head left, I believe, on the other person's part. You bring it up. And now 6 on the other side. Remember, anytime you're going from 5 or any other move, you need to reset in order to get to your proper position. So from your on guard stance, it would be pulling your arm up in front of you, putting this out as flat as you can, or actually tilt it in the air for extra guard so it doesn't slip. Tilt it. But if you go, say, from a 5 to a 6, you need to pull down, reset, and up. Cool. Now the high preems, I believe, are basically 1 and 2. Okay. Now the high preems, as far as I remember, are 1 and 2, but except in a height position, almost to use them sort of like a reverse 3 and 4, but like so. Inverse 3 is much like a high preem on the right, except it's much more down and to the side, rather than a high preem, which is more out, catching the blade, coming towards the side. So you can, good retreat one from